Okay, so if you've been following the AI space, you know things move at a dizzying speed. But 2026, this year is different. This is the year the whole conversation is flipping from, hey, what can AI do? To what are we actually going to allow it to do?
I mean, think back to last year. 2025 was just a whirlwind of pure hype. We saw this massive explosion in AI adoption, right? Endless debates, a sea of white papers about what AI could be. It was all about promises and, abstract ideas.
But now, that hype is slamming into reality. The theoretical debates are pretty much over, and the era of actual, real-world rules has started. And this brings us to what might be the central conflict of our time. When you're talking about the most powerful technology ever made, who gets to call the shots?
And that gets us right into our first big development. The rules for AI, well, they're not just ideas being kicked around in boardrooms anymore, they are now officially the law.
The first major shoe dropped right on New Year's Day. Two landmark laws went into effect in California, and this is a huge deal. Why? Because it completely shifts the focus from what a company intends to do to how its AI actually behaves when it's talking to real human beings.
Okay, so these two laws are SB 243 and AB 489, and they both tackle this one critical question: what happens when an AI is having a direct conversation with a person? SB 243 is all about companion AI. The system's designed to build an emotional connection, and AB 489 zeroes in on AIs that sound like they're giving you medical advice.
SB 243 is really fascinating because it's not about the code itself, it's all about behavior. So first, the AI has to keep reminding you it's not human, especially if it's talking to a kid. Second, it now has a legal duty to step in if it thinks someone is talking about self-harm and get them to real crisis support. And third, companies are finally on the hook with mandatory reports and the very real threat of getting sued by individuals.
Then you've got the other side of the coin, AB 489, which is basically about preventing AI from playing doctor. The bottom line is, an AI can't just throw around clinical-sounding language or use a design that tricks you into thinking you're talking to a licensed physician. This law draws a very clear line in the sand. If you're going to sound like a medical professional, you better have the credentials to back it up.
Now, these new laws in California, they're really just one battle in a much, much bigger war of ideas. As governments all over the world are trying to get their arms around this tech, three very different philosophies are starting to take shape.
This chart from the Chertoff Group just lays it out perfectly. On one extreme, you have the restrictionists. They are seriously worried about safety. Think AI being used as a suicide coach, and they want to slam on the brakes. An early bill in California even had a kill switch mandate. Then, on the complete opposite end, you have the pro-innovation camp. They're saying, get out of the way and let us build. And smack in the middle, you have the guardrails approach, which is trying to find some kind of balance.
And it's this guardrails approach that's really starting to win the day. It's that middle path, right? Not trying to stop innovation, but just putting up some common sense boundaries, like transparency reports and specific rules for high-stakes areas. That is exactly what California is doing. But this whole idea is about to face its biggest test yet.
Because what happens when a company that's literally built on the idea of safety, of guardrails, goes head-to-head with the absolute demands of the government and national security?
So picture this. It's early 2026, and the world is on a knife's edge. With the U.S. military getting involved in Venezuela, all that abstract philosophical debate about AI's role in war, it suddenly became very, very real. And the Pentagon decided it was time to make a move.
And at the dead center of this storm is the AI company Anthropic. Now, these guys were founded by ex-OpenAI people on the principle of safety. So they refused to let their models be used for things like mass surveillance or killer robots. But the Pentagon, they came in and demanded unrestricted access, no exceptions. And things escalated so fast. On a Tuesday, Anthropic CEO has a meeting with the defense secretary, but right after that supposedly good faith chat, the Pentagon drops an ultimatum. You will agree to our terms by Friday at 5:01 p.m., or we will use the Defense Production Act to force you to do it. We're talking about a law that lets the government compel companies to work on national defense.
And the Pentagon's whole argument is summed up in this one absolutely stark quote from a senior official. They basically said, look, Anthropic's job is to build the tool. What the military does with it, whether it's legal or not, that's on us, the end user, not the company.
And this chart just brilliantly illustrates the insane pressure Anthropic is under. I mean, look at this. Their competitors are already lining up to work with the government. Elon Musk's Grok, already cleared for classified use.
OpenAI and Google are right behind. So Anthropic's principled stand is putting them at a massive, massive disadvantage.
So let's pull all these threads together for a second. We've got California's new laws, this huge philosophical debate, and the Pentagon's ultimatum. What they all point to is a really fundamental shift in the game. We're not just debating what AI is for anymore. We are now in a raw, bare-knuckle power struggle over who gets to control it. Is it the companies who build it, guided by their own safety rules? Is it the individual states with their targeted regulations? Or is it the federal government claiming that national security trumps everything else?
And that really leaves us with the defining question of 2026, and probably for years to come. This isn't just about code or compliance anymore. It's about power. And as we move forward, the answer to this one question is going to shape not just the future of technology, but the future of our society itself. I hope this gave you a clearer picture of the absolute battle that's unfolding. Thanks for joining me.